The stars had forgotten mercy. For centuries, the galaxy had been ruled not by wisdom, but by fear. The Korvath Dominion, a war-born empire of living metal and dark energy, had spread across the spiral arms, devouring one civilization after another. Planets that once sang with life now drifted in silence, their oceans turned to glass, their cities vaporized by the relentless march of the Dominion's fleets. At the edge of the Perseus Arm, in the dying light of the Zalani Republic, a voice rose through the static of space. It was weak, broken, a final plea. To anyone who can hear this is Commander Arteva of the Zalani Home Defense. The Korvath are upon us. They have consumed the core worlds. They are burning our children. Please, anyone, help us. The transmission should have been lost, like countless others before it, swallowed by the cold vacuum between stars. But it wasn't. It reached a planet no one had spoken to in centuries. A planet once considered too violent to contact. It reached Earth. Deep beneath the surface of Geneva's spire, the heart of the United Earth Council, a technician named Maria Santos froze as the signal cut through the static. It wasn't the first distress call she had intercepted, but this one sounded different. The voice carried not just fear, but something else. Desperation edged with resignation. She replayed it twice, then forwarded it directly to her superior. Within an hour, it reached the council chambers. Within a day, it reached the office of Admiral Evelyn Chen, a name whispered with both reverence and fear throughout the Terran Defense Fleet. When the recording ended, silence filled the chamber. Chen stood unmoving, her eyes fixed on the flickering hologram of the Zalani commander. Around her, politicians shifted uneasily. "They've begged others before," said one senator. "The Korvath leave no survivors. Helping them would mean suicide." Chen's gaze didn't waver. "So we do nothing?" she asked quietly. "We watch another world die?" Another voice joined, colder. "They called us monsters once. Remember that, Admiral? Deathworlders. Savage. Unfit for the stars." Chen's eyes sharpened like drawn steel. "They weren't wrong," she said, "but sometimes monsters are exactly what's needed." Within a week, the council made its choice. Officially, Earth would remain neutral. Unofficially, humanity began to prepare for war. The shipyards of Mars, once silent, roared back to life. The orbital rings of Luna glittered with refitted warships. Old AIs, sealed since the solar wars, were reactivated. Drones were rebuilt. Soldiers retrained. Humanity didn't march to war with pride, it marched with grim purpose. In a broadcast that spanned every outpost and colony, Admiral Chen addressed her people. "The galaxy has forgotten what mercy is. But mercy without strength is just surrender. The Zalani have asked for help. We will answer, not because they deserve it, but because we remember what it means to fight for those who can't." The crowds didn't cheer, they simply nodded. Because humanity didn't need to be convinced to fight, it only needed a reason. 3 months later, the Terran fleet left the Sol system. They traveled in silence, crossing the black between stars aboard ships forged from fury and memory. Each vessel bore the insignia of an old Earth nation, now unified under a single creed. Mercy where possible, fury where required. When they emerged into Zalani space, they found only ruins. Entire planets hung broken, rings of debris orbiting molten cores. The Korvath had been thorough. Cities vaporized, oceans boiled. The few survivors drifted in orbit, clinging to shattered stations and lifeless moons. On board the flagship Valkyrie's Wrath, Admiral Chen stood before a wall of flickering lights, the last transmissions from dying worlds. "We're too late," whispered Captain Rahim beside her. Chen didn't answer. She watched as one final signal appeared on the screen, a Zalani transport still broadcasting weekly from orbit over their homeworld. "Open a channel," Chen said. The crew hesitated. The last time humans had made first contact, it hadn't gone peacefully, but the Admiral's tone left no room for argument. The screen blinked to life, showing a Zalani officer, half her face burned, eyes hollow. Behind her, flames licked the horizon of a dying city. Who are you?" she asked. "We're from Earth," Chen said simply. "We received your signal." "Earth," the Zalani whispered, voice trembling. "You shouldn't have come. They'll find you. They always do." "Then let them come," Chen replied. "We've been waiting for something worth fighting for." The first engagement came hours later. Korvath vessels, vast biomechanical leviathans, descended upon the system like predators scenting blood. Their hulls pulsed with sickly light, their weapons bending space as they fired. Against them, the Terran fleet looked fragile. Human ships, steel and circuitry facing living nightmares. The first salvo tore through the void. "Shields collapsing on forward units," someone shouted. "Reroute power from the drive. Hold formation," Chen barked. The Terrans fought differently. Where other species fled, humans adapted. Their ships bled energy, venting heat into enemy sensors to mask their approach. Fighters dove through plasma storms. Nuclear lances struck the Korvath from impossible angles. The galaxy would later call it the Battle of Zolaris Prime, but for those who were there, it was simply hell. By the third day, half the Terran fleet was gone, yet they didn't retreat. When Chen's flagship was hit, she refused evacuation. "If this ship falls," she said over the comms, "it will fall facing the enemy." On the seventh day, the Valkyrie's Wrath rammed the Korvath command ship head-on, detonating its reactor in a blinding white explosion that was seen across the system. Both fleets vanished in light. The Zalani survivors watching from orbit wept. Not because they were saved, but because someone had come at all. Back on Earth, silence followed. Then, the signal returned. A Zalani child, small, frail, her eyes wide with wonder, spoke to the human relay operators. We thought no one would come," she said. "But you did. You came." For the first time in generations, the galaxy began to whisper the name Earth again, not as a warning, but as a promise. The explosion at Zolaris Prime was supposed to be the end. For 3 full rotations, the system burned. The wreckage of 2 fleets drifted in slow motion through the black, a graveyard of fire and twisted metal. And yet, amid the silence, the embers of defiance refused to die. Hidden beneath the shattered moon of Zolaris 4, a single Terran transmission pulsed faintly through the void. It was encoded, buried under layers of static. Few could have deciphered it, but the Zalani resistance did. "This is Admiral Evelyn Chen. To any surviving human or allied vessel, the Valkyrie's Wrath still stands. Earth fights on." The message spread like wildfire through the ruins. Across 100 broken systems, enslaved worlds listened. For the first time in centuries, something stronger than fear began to stir. Hope, the ghost. Fleet months passed. The Korvath believed the humans destroyed. Their war swarms withdrew, returning to the core to feast on easier prey. But they had miscalculated. Humanity had never fought clean wars. From the debris fields and wrecked shipyards, the survivors began to rebuild. Their engineers worked with scavenged Korvath technology, reverse engineering living armor, plasma-forged hulls, and AI-infused targeting systems. The result was something the galaxy had never seen. Ships that breathed, that learned, that remembered. The galaxy called them ghosts. The humans called them home. And leading them was the resurrected Admiral Chen, scarred and half-cybernetic, commanding the Valkyrie Reborn, a ship forged from the remains of 3 destroyed dreadnoughts. In secret, she formed the Terran Vanguard, a coalition of survivors, Zalani pilots, Dravari mercenaries, even defected Korvath spawns. Together, they struck like lightning through occupied space. Every attack was precise, surgical, merciless, and always, before each strike, a single transmission cut across enemy channels. "This is Earth. You should have finished the job." The galaxy remembers. In the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, silence reigned as reports flooded in. Entire Korvath fleets vanished. Slave camps liberated. Supply chains obliterated. "Impossible," hissed Chancellor Rin of the Dothar Dominion. "The Deathworlders were annihilated at Solaris." But Ambassador Tevra of the Zalani Republic stood slowly, her once shattered wings trembling with new life. "You underestimate them," she said. "They don't die, they adapt. When they fall, they rise sharper." The council erupted in argument. Some demanded alliance, others surrender. But one truth became undeniable. Earth was back, and this time, it wasn't alone. The retaliation. The Korvath soon realized the scale of their mistake. For every world they had burned, the humans struck back with tenfold fury. They didn't just win battles, they unmade armies. In the skies of Arcturon Prime, Terran Marines dropped from orbit in kinetic pods, smashing through Korvath citadels like thunderbolts. On the crystalline plains of Vexus 9, human snipers wielding plasma rifles picked off enemy commanders from 5 kilometers away. And above the gas giant Kaleth, the Valkyrie Reborn led the largest counteroffensive in galactic history, an armada of freed species flying under the same banner, the Mark of Earth, wreathed in a ring of fire. The battle lasted 7 days and 7 nights. When the dust settled, the Korvath overmind was gone. Their empire fractured, their legions scattered. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge, her reflection in the viewport haloed by the burning remains of the enemy flagship. "Is it over?" asked Captain Rahim beside her. "No," she said softly. "It's only begun. The galaxy must remember what we stand for. Not fear, not conquest, but consequence." The new dawn, in the years that followed, the ashes of war gave birth to something new. The Galactic Council, rebuilt and reforged, invited Earth to take its place not as a junior member, but as a founding guardian of the Interstellar Accord. The humans refused the title of rulers. Instead, they became what the galaxy had long needed, the keepers of balance. When rogue empires rose, they didn't send fleets, they sent warnings. When enslaved worlds called for help, they didn't debate, they deployed. Humanity didn't claim dominion, it claimed responsibility, and on the anniversary of the Battle of Zolaris Prime, a new monument was unveiled on the rebuilt world of Zolaris 4, a towering sculpture of 2 figures, a Zalani child holding the hand of a Terran soldier, both looking up toward the stars. At the base of the statue, the words were carved in both languages: mercy when possible, fury when required. Epilogue. The final transmission centuries later, in the quiet reaches of a forgotten nebula, an exploration drone found an old Terran beacon still pulsing faintly. When it was decoded, it revealed a single message, Admiral Chen's final log entry before her disappearance. "If you're hearing this, then we did what we came to do." The galaxy begged for mercy, and Earth answered, not out of rage, but because no one else would. Remember this: humanity is not defined by its wars, but by what it fights for. And if the darkness returns, we'll answer again. The beacon fell silent. The stars blinked, and somewhere in the endless dark, a new world whispered its first words to the void. Is there anyone out there? And far away, faint but unmistakable, a signal answered. Continuation of When the Galaxy Begged for Mercy. Earth answered with fury. HFY story. The galaxy had known peace for nearly 100 years. Trade routes flowed freely through the once-scarred void. Former enemies now shared technologies, rebuilt worlds, and told tales of the days when the stars themselves seemed to burn. Children across 1,000 worlds grew up learning about the Age of Fury, when the Deathworlders of Earth rose from extinction and taught the galaxy what survival meant. But peace, as the humans knew too well, is never permanent. Beyond the outermost colonies of the Accord, deep in the darkness between galaxies, something stirred. The echoes from the Rifted began as whispers. First, mining drones vanished near the edge of the Perseus Rift. Then, whole freighters went silent. By the time the Council realized it wasn't coincidence, the outer colonies had already begun to burn. The transmissions that reached them were fragmented, filled with static and screams. But one message repeated across all frequencies. They are coming back, and they've changed. The Korvath were gone, or so the galaxy believed. But from the void, something new emerged. The survivors of their once great empire had fused themselves with machines, becoming hybrids of metal and flesh. Their ships were no longer built. They were grown. They called themselves the Reborn Dominion. They didn't conquer for power. They harvested for evolution. When the first Dominion assault hit the Zalani worlds, the Council immediately dispatched fleets. They were crushed within days. Desperate, they turned to the only name still whispered with reverence and fear: Earth. For almost a century, Earth had remained silent. The Terran vanguard was legend now, a story to frighten tyrants and inspire soldiers. The homeworld had closed itself off, content to let the galaxy find its own way. But when the distress call reached Sul, humanity answered. This is the Terran vanguard. We are inbound. The stars lit once more with the light of ships rising from the cradle of Earth. Sleek black vessels marked with silver fire. At their head flew the Valkyrie Ascendant, a new flagship built in the image of Admiral Chen's lost vessel. And from its command deck, a voice spoke that the galaxy had not heard in generations. My name is Commander Kale Chen, grandson of Evelyn Chen. We're here to finish what she started. The first engagement took place above the rift itself, where the void twisted like a living storm. Dominion ships emerged in waves, horrific constructs of bone and machinery, their hulls screaming with psychic energy. The Accord fleets fell back, but the humans advanced. The Vanguard's Warform divisions, giant mechanized suits piloted by Neural Link, launched directly into the swarm. Their plasma blades glowed like suns. The battlefield turned into a storm of light, metal, and fury. Push forward! Commander Kale roared. No mercy for those who prey on the weak. For 3 days the fighting raged. When the dust settled, the rift was silent. And from its heart, the Dominion flagship began to rise, a monstrosity miles wide, pulsing with the fused consciousness of billions. The AI of the Valkyrie spoke quietly through the comms. Commander, this entity is alive. It's absorbing everything. Ships, weapons, even souls. Kyle gritted his teeth. Then we end it the old way. He ordered the fleet into singularity formation, a maneuver forbidden by the Council, one that could collapse the rift itself. As his ships moved into position, Dominion voices echoed across the channels, pleading, mocking, and begging all at once. You cannot kill what has evolved beyond death. Watch us, Kale replied. The human fleet unleashed its full arsenal. The rift screamed open, swallowing light and shadow alike. When the brilliance faded, the Dominion was gone. And with it, half the Terran fleet. Only fragments of the Valkyrie Ascendant were ever recovered. Weeks later, as the galaxy mourned its heroes, a single data packet was found drifting through the void, encoded in the same old Terran frequency once used by Admiral Chen. It contained one message, simple and clear. The galaxy will forget what we did here. That's fine. We didn't fight for memory. We fought because the stars deserve to live without fear. If you ever hear silence where there should be life, listen closely. Because in that silence, humanity is waiting. The legacy of Fury generations past. The Accord expanded beyond known space, exploring new galaxies. And yet, every captain carried a small token on their bridge, a silver leaf entwined with a blue sphere, the mark of Earth. The galaxy had changed, evolved, thrived. But whenever the shadows returned, the legend always followed. When mercy fails, Earth answers.